I think it's working. I think it's working.
I'm checking.
Bow, wow, wow, UVO, UVA. You know how much I hate that song? It's stuck in my head. Oh, it says yes, we're live.
Yep.
So for the world to see. Now let's see if I can record while we're streaming.
Alright, I'm closing this.
No, you need to leave that open for chat purposes.
Nah, gone it goes.
What did I just say? Why would you close it? You're not being helpful. You realize that. Play ad. Here we go. All right. Now we're going to try to
record. Remember, you just said that.
Well, I know, but I mean, it's heady. It's heady business. This. Okay.
So you're gonna record
a little
and
piece.
Then stop.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Okay.
Hello, everyone. You're live.
Hello. We're testing. I always dress like this.
Especially the hat.
Like an idiot.
You're the world's worst stripper. No, please don't. All right, hit stop. You're killing everyone.
This will bring in the hits.
Yeah.
Wow. All right, let's see if that worked. If it worked, we're okay. And it stopped raining. Okay.
Hello, everyone. You're live.
Hello. We're testing. I always dress like this.
Especially the hat.
Like an idiot. All right, I think we're in. What do you think?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Let me have a quick drinky poo here. Hey, listen, we have no idea what we're doing, so we're just going to run through the show just like we normally do, and hope it works. This is our test run for next week's more live show.
Liver show.
The liver show. Hey, and you two know, boy, lucky you, Paul. They worked for this. Take me in. So we're gonna just go for it then. Whoa, did I do that?
That's the screen you need to keep up.
All right. Now, one last thing. When you do grab it like that, because the string is right here. You see, you'll kill me otherwise. Or bring it forward and throw it.
Wait, I'm taking yours off?
Oh yeah, that's part of it. This is the old hat gimmick.
You know how when you do sketches,
yeah,
usually you tell the other person what the heck's
that's
going on.
That's what we're doing right now.
Oh, okay.
Because this
live.
This thing's hot, man.
Well,
I want you to
can I put my hat on you to make you hot more?
No, just throw it away, and I'll, you after I introduce the whole 9 yards. Okay. All right, I'm gonna get this in one take.
Oh wait.
What do you mean?
There we go.
Oh, cool guy style, aren't you? So you're too cool for school, eh? All right, get my documentation here.
Howdy, Pilgrim.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I did need my. For one quick thing, let me get this thing cooking here. Oh, I know. You're so put out. Give me a break.
That's what I have to deal with every week, folks.
Give me a break.
Unpreparedness.
I will murderify you.
Was it John Wayne that wore his hat sideways like this?
You are not John Wayne. That's a fact.
I'm asking. Is that who it was?
Well, some people have done that over the years. It's a. Okay.
Now I'm going to do something that might destroy the show. Just so you know that.
Oh boy, we don't want that. There goes 50 viewers. Actually, we did pretty good this week, all things considered. All right. Are you ready? Here we go.
Yes.
Here we go. Make sure I get it right here.
I'll get the position first.
What's that mean? Oh yeah. We're idiots. You ready? Hi, y'all. Welcome to a Texas-sized ARG Presents.
We already Texas-sized.
That's right. I'm Amigo Aaron, joined by a man few know was the original Lone Ranger. That cowpoke himself, the Brent.
It's true, ladies and gentlemen. I use silver bullets to starve my family.
You know, the original Lone Ranger was actually a man of great power and stature. He's not the original Lone Ranger. Cookie, I think, would be more appropriate.
I like
the
cookies.
tubby doofus that worked on the fire.
I like cookies.
Oh, God.
Let's just,
let's
untexify you.
Woo. Oh, God. Right into the equipment.
Hey, let's untexify me.
So, last week, if you watched the show, we spun the wheel, we made the deal. And this week, we'll be giving you a Texas-sized portion of the TI-99 4A / Texas Instruments computer. Brent, what do you know about the old TI-99 4A?
You know, after I actually started looking at some of the stuff, I recognized some of the games. But the system itself, I've never played one in person. I've never really went through their library until this week. It was actually kind of fun.
I have a lot more than a cup of coffee with the TIs. One of my best friends had one for many years. Actually, had more than one, but we'll get to that. So let's learn a little bit about the TI-99 4A. I've got the document of doom right here. So the TI released multiple computers, but the TI-99 4 and 4A were their most popular models. The TI-99 4 was released June of 1981, right? Excuse me, the TI-99 4A was released June of 81. The TI-99 4 was released in October of 79. Now, you would think that little letter would not make much of a difference, but that's incorrect.
It makes a tremendous difference.
So this thing debuted back in 81, $525, and today,
I think that's pretty reasonable.
in today's money, you're looking around 1,500 buckaroo dude.
Yeah, I mean, but it was a pretty powerful computer for the time.
Sure. Well, it depends on your point of view. This thing ran until 84 when it was discontinued. According to all the sources I could find, they shipped around 3 million units before it was discontinued. And of course, it had the ability to use floppy disks or cartridges or cassettes. So it was sort of like the Coco or some of the other computers of the day. Pretty standard stuff. It used TI Basic. TI developed. It had 256 bytes of scratch pad RAM. Right, and then 16K of graphics memory, and it was a decent little machine, man.
Yeah, I thought so.
But with some caveats. So let's get into the real big deal here. The TI-994 series holds the distinction of being the first 16-bit PC.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. It had a 16-bit CPU that ran at 3 megahertz. Which was TI developed. TI, for those of you that aren't familiar with TI, they manufactured chips. That was their claim to fame. Chips and electronics. They are really widely known and regarded for their calculators, aren't they?
Absolutely.
Now you have some experience in the calculator zone.
And
now.
actually, they so corner the calculator market that they have it's virtually a monopoly that they abuse.
What do you mean?
Keep their prices high. No, that really does. If you look into it, that's a very real thing.
Are their prices still high on calculators?
Oh, yes.
On calculators?
On graphing calculators, yes. There's still
you do that with your phone?
There's still hundreds of dollars. Now, the thing is, that's another thing. TI was smart enough to get in with the schools.
Yeah.
So all of the schools are, well, not all schools, but most schools are obligated to have to push the TI brand because they give out so many free samples to their teachers and stuff.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Well, it worked for Apple, you know, so it's a good move. So get this, the video processor in the TI, it doesn't have a bitmap mode, which is kind of weird, you know. And in the European consoles, European TIs, they actually have the same graphics processor that the MSX has, if you're familiar with the MSX. Yeah. We should put the MSX on the wheel. I don't think we've ever done that. So, here's something that blew me away. Keep in mind, this is 81, all right? All TI-99 models have plug-and-play support for all their peripherals. Plug-and-play. Now,
really impressive.
If you were around in the old DOS days where you didn't have plug-and-play...
You wish you had plug-and-play.
Well, plug-and-play was funny because we used to call it plug-and-pray.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the early days, it would just do whatever it wanted, and it didn't give a damn about the rest of your system, and it would just take over. So TI built it in out of the box. And the vice drivers for the stuff are built into the ROMs in the hardware itself. It makes sense if you're only going into one thing. You know?
That is so smart.
Yeah. So TI came out of the gates with the 4A. Okay, so as we said, the 4A was not the first machine they made, but this is where they really went at it. So TI was going along pretty well. It was a pretty popular machine. But here comes Commodore.
Yeah.
Okay? Jack Tramiel. Now, TI was one of his early adversaries, right, in the early 80s. So, TI came out, like I said, it was like over $500. In 82, they started going to war with Commodore International, right? So, they lowered the price of the TI. And this is 82, okay? It went, and we announced the original asking price of this thing was $525.81. Okay, I want you to bear that in mind. By 82, TI lowered the price of the 4A to $200.
Wow.
That included a $100 rebate you would get. And I remember this distinctly. And they mentioned here on the place where I pulled this off, and I remember this. Bill Cosby was the TI spokesperson,
yes.
which wouldn't fly today, I might add. But back in the day, Bill Cosby was very popular.
Sought after spokesman.
Yeah, my dad had a bunch of his albums, his comedy albums, you know. So, well, your dad too. Think about it. But Bill Cosby would always joke how easy it was to sell a computer by paying people $100 to buy one. So there you go, and that's a fact. So they went down to, why did they get down to $200? Well, Commodore had the VIC-20 that down to $300.
Yeah.
Now we both know how Commodore used to work. They would do stuff like run up a bill for like plastics or molded stuff, and then not pay the bill. And by the time, since they owed the company so much money that was making the plastics, that when they didn't pay the bill, the company would go bankrupt. And then Jet Jerome would like go buy him. He'd go buy the company, and he would just waive off his debt. And he'd own the company. He was crooked his day as long, but I mean that's the way business is. You know, sometimes people fault him, but I mean. Listen, it worked. It worked great. I mean, you know, there's no doubt about that. So, Tramiel was like, okay, we'll play this game with you. And so he started dropping the price of the VIC, right? And keep in mind that TI had more money in these TI 994As than they were making.
Yeah.
So their gimmick was going to be make it on the back end in the software, which we'll get to that in a minute. So Commodore was like, all right. We'll go down that road, and so they started cost cutting on the VIC. They did all kinds of crazy stuff, including stuff like if you ever open up some of the VICs, I've seen this in a bunch of computers now. In the old days, you've got that big metal plate that's like for RF shielding.
Yeah, RF shielding.
They would put the paper version in there, and you'd save a bunch of money just on that, you know. And among other things, of course, both of them used customized chips. This is something I didn't know when I read it, but TI used. They used their chips, but their chips were sort of a standard chip, where Commodore would have their chip manufacturer make super duper custom cheap chips that would just work for the C64 or the VIC. So in mid '82, they were giving away the TI.
Wow.
Yeah. So if you were down to $200, you were giving away something that eventually was $500 a year before. The sales in this thing were, at one point, they were selling 30,000 of these things a week.
Which is pretty good.
It is. But in '83, Commodore lowered the price of the VIC-20s down to $130. All right? So you're talking, that's brutal. So TI was like, oh yeah? We'll show you. They lowered the 994A down to $150. Now, there's some debate as to which machine was more powerful, the TI or the VIC. Both in their own right, they're pretty decent machines.
Yeah.
I think the TI probably had a slight edge.
I think the TI did have an edge.
And it looked better. It was beautiful. The TI looks. It's like the what was the car that they drove in Back to the Future? The DeLorean.
DeLorean?
That's what it reminds me of. It's got that kind of chromy look
More
to
form
it.
than function.
So after the TI lowered their prices, the Commodore lowered its prices again, and so eventually. Commodore was selling the VIC-20s for $100, and TI also didn't. So they were losing a ton of money on these things. And then eventually, they were like, "We're getting out of the PC business. We can't handle this anymore." So in August, they reduced their peripherals by 50%. They offered $100 worth of free software, and then it reduced the prices more. And by the end, and I kid you not, this is why it's relevant, the friend I knew that had a TI, they cut the prices so low that his mom went out and bought like 7 of them. And I remember she had a closet full of TIs. They were so cheap. And she was like, geez, I paid $500 now. I can get it for, $60. I'm going to load up on these things. And load up she did. So I thought that was interesting. And needless to say, Commodore laughed heartily as they moved on to the C64 and left TI in the dust.
Crushed the competition.
Well, a little bit about the TI itself. So, as we mentioned, it's got a kind of a pretty nice look to it, doesn't it, Brent?
Yeah.
You've got it doesn't have the best keyboard on it, which I remember that. It's got that chiclet style keyboard that everybody hates. I've never liked those chiclet keyboards. Have you ever used one?
Yeah.
Of
Oh
them?
yeah.
One thing that the TI had going for it, and this stems back to the price war, is they were very anti-competition when it comes to software. They did not promote independent software programming. They did not promote third parties. They were real tight about making stuff for the TI.
Well, another thing I read was they were also anti-game. They
Yes.
wanted educational software, foremost, front and center. They wanted to be known as the educational machine. So when game developers were like, "Hey, we're going to develop for your system," you're like, "We're not going to help you at all."
Yeah, because
at all.
they didn't release any of the stuff you would need to program for it.
Yes.
So you had to sort of figure it out.
Yeah.
But they wanted to do what Apple did, which was infiltrate the schools, and which I guess they did with the calculator. That makes sense now if you think about it.
Yeah.
So what does this mean? Is it results in a lot of people not making games for the machine.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And which was moronic. And of course, I think by the end they were like, "We'll do anything," but at that point it was too late.
It was too late, right?
Another thing the TI is known for is its really cool speech synthesizing add-on. This thing was really neat, and I'd say it blew away the one in the Odyssey.
Oh, killed it! Yes.
It was a much cooler sounding one, and it made realistic speech patterns and voices that were. I mean, it was pretty much one of the best.
Very
of the time.
legible.
Was there a better one you could think of back in those days?
Back then,
because it crushed the Intellivisions too. It was really good.
Well, I mean, the voices were. I mean, they weren't crystal clear, but they were clear.
And
they were telephone quality.
They were differing too.
Yes,
that was what was neat about it. So this thing came out in the early '80s, and it actually supported some games. In fact, it supported my game. I don't think it supported your game.
No,
which I'll get into that a little bit later. Now we've got to talk about the TI peripheral expansion box because I saw one of these things. So the TI is a lot like the Amiga. It would have sidecar stuff you could put on it, right? And so by the time you got done, you'd have a stack of crap. Your desk would be from here to eternity, right? So they made this huge gimmick, and it's a huge box that hooks in the side of your machine, and it's where you plug in peripherals, right? Now my buddy, his dad had one of these things. I mean, this thing was huge and expensive too, boy. It cost a ton. But the sidecar was cool because you could put all your stuff in there, and extra drives and peripherals and stuff. It was really cool. It's sort of like what the Coco had with the little expansions, the thing that added 4 cartridge slots, but it was more for proper expansion. And so they called it it was called the PEB. But like a lot of things that get put in there was like disk drives, because that's where you'd put them, and it was a big monster of a gimmick. TI developed most of the games for this machine, a good chunk of them. And a lot of these games are straight up clones.
Yes,
they did stuff.
A ton of clones.
They did stuff like TI Invaders, Munchman. I don't have to tell you what this stuff is. And they also did a game called Hunt the Wampus, which I often reference. Hunt the Wampus is this crazy game where you go around hunting this guy with a bow and arrow. It's not I wouldn't call it a good game. I would call it but it was kind of fun in a weird way.
Well, and it was problem solving more than a game.
One of these days, maybe I almost picked Hunt the Wampus, but I didn't know there was enough jack there to do anything with it, so I was like, I don't know. They did get some third-party support, though, which surprised me. When I went down and played a bunch of TI games this week just to check them out. They had Popeye and Frogger, so they were okay.
Yeah.
You know, I thought they were. You know, they
Well,
were.
I think once they dropped the "we're an educational machine" angle, because it was not. I mean, it couldn't have been right down the middle for them. You know, they had to have been losing off on that, and they started broadening their library. I think it brought a lot of people in.
So the TI's downfall, and they lost $111 million after taxes in the third quarter of '83. That's when they were like, "We're out of here." And so here's something I didn't know. TI also sold a MS-DOS compatible computer. I had no idea they ever did that. Much like Commodore did. You know, they're actually quite similar in that way. But when in '83, when the game crash hit and everything, a lot of companies went out, and so you know, they were amongst a bunch of other computer companies that fell over, including Coleco with the Atom, the Atomic Sinclair over here, PC Junior, some other stuff. So it was a short, ugly trip to pain.
Well, everyone wanted to hit the market and be the best, and then you know you can't have everyone be the best. So only the strong survive, as they say.
Yeah. So. Now here's something I thought was really interesting. No official technical documentation from TI was made public until this thing called the Editor Assembler was released in '81, and no system schematics were ever released to the public until they discontinued the computer.
Wow.
So that means anyone trying to work on this thing was hard pressed to get it done, and it makes me wonder how much untapped potential the thing had if you consider. Not having that documentation, some of the stuff the games, I should say, are pretty good.
I wonder if they did that because they were afraid people were going to steal their stuff.
I think they wanted to make money on software. They didn't want anybody else to know it. I'm sure that's what it was.
And as history has dictated, you can't do that.
Well,
I mean, you can make money off software, but you can't lock down your system and be a little licensing monkey.
Well, that's what they did. It worked for Nintendo.
Sort of.
They were a little bit different. So, with all that in mind, the venerable TI 994A, we picked 2 games from its library. It does have a decent-sized library of games. It had some, you know, and there were some heavy hitters in there, like we said, there's arcade ports and stuff.
They got a lot more exclusives than I thought.
Yeah, they had a few. Well, I mean, again, TI was making a lot of those things.
Well, and by exclusive, I mean not a clone, but only found on the TI.
Right. So
original exclusives. There you go.
With that in mind, we picked a couple games. I'll go ahead and lead the charge this week.
Sure.
And I picked for my game the game Parsec.
Yes.
Now, Parsec is a sort of renowned game for the system. That's why I wanted to pick it, because I thought it was probably one of the ones that best summarized what the system could do if given the proper programming and whatnot. So this was another game made by TI itself, as we mentioned, and this thing was released third quarter of '82, and it was programmed by a fellow named Jim Dramus and Paul Urbanus, which I like Urbanus as a name. It's kind of cool. And this retailed in '83 for about $40.
Yeah.
All right. So. Wow. Yeah, 40. That's what it costs, man. $40. So, what is Parsec? Parsec is a side-scrolling shooter. You know, a shoot 'em up, where you play a little Parsec machine. Now, I dug up the instruction manual, so I don't want to shortchange the backstory of Parsec. So I've got it right here. You are the commander of the starship Parsec, patrolling an alien planet. Suddenly, the onboard computer announces that you are about to come under attack by small alien fighters and large, heavily armed hostile alien cruisers. The fighters are heavily mobile, and unless they are eliminated by your laser, they fill the screen, restricting maneuvering of your craft, and may cause a deadly collision. This is like an LA traffic jam. That's what it sounds like. The cruisers are highly aggressive, and their armament is devastating. Armed with photon missiles, they track your ship and fire on it. You must outmaneuver and destroy them with accurate fire from your ship's lasers. So, with that incredibly detailed backstory in mind, this is Parsec. Now, I will say Parsec, for a game of its age, brings some interesting twists to the table. When you look at it at its heart, it looks like a game that looks sort of similar to, like, say, a Super Cobra or something, or a Scramble, where you fly your little ship across an alien landscape and you just shoot everything you see.
Yeah.
Right? There's no bombing. There's nothing else. There are multiple levels. in Parsec. There's actually 16 different colored levels, and it's all scrolling, sideways. 16 is a pretty good number. That's pretty good. So if that was all it had, this would be a short look at Parsec. But there's some added jack to this thing. So for starters, this game has a overheating element to your ship.
Yes.
If you fire your laser too much, your ship will start to flash red, right? And if you keep firing it too much, your ship will explode.
I was very confused the first time that happened.
It's sort of like the precursor to Mech Warrior when you lay off the PPCs, when the things flash, what did you think was happening when the ship flashed red?
Well, I wasn't sure. I mean, when I blew it, I didn't know. I thought I would just stop shooting. I didn't know I would just explode.
Right. So that's an interesting angle, and that comes into play a lot. Now, the lasers in this are sort of Defender style, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're kind of long,
Yeah.
and they streak across the screen, and they look pretty good. And what's neat about them is you can kind of move your ship up and down, and they'll kind of follow your ship a little bit, so you can kind of rake with them, which is pretty cool.
Sort of, yeah.
Another angle this game has are basically speed controls.
Yeah.
Did you know about this?
Yeah.
And how long did it take you to find out before you realized it? Oh, so you knew about it.
Yeah. Well, the first thing I tried to do was go up the screen from being all the way in the back, which made the thrusters kick. And then I stopped. And I still floated forward a little bit.
I'm talking about the ones you use with the number buttons. Did you know about those? That's what I thought. Bam, got him. So this game has what's called lift controls, which is another thing that you don't see that often. And if you on your keyboard 1, 2, or 3 will determine how fast your ship goes. Right. So if you're at 3, your ship's going as fast as it can go, and it ain't fast, brother, but it's still going pretty good. However, if you're at 1 or 2, it goes slower, and down at 1 it goes real slow. Now, why would you want to go slow? You would ask. Well, there's a bunch of reasons.
I know why.
One of which is if the screen's really crowded with guys, you're trying to kill these guys, you might want to slow down. And I actually played it 2 more than I would have thought, just because there was so much stuff. Something else that will happen is this game has aliens that dart on the screen from off screen real quick, and from behind. Which I should mention, the aliens will come in on both sides of the screen. It makes it very difficult, doesn't it, to stay out of their way. And so often you'll run into stuff. I mean, it happened to me over and over.
Oh, that's how I died the most, was collisions.
And so you could use those slower speeds. But the main reason is another gimmick this game's got, which is the third gimmick, is that between stages you go to what's called a refueling tunnel. All right? This game has a fuel element. Again, much like, say, Scramble. This is very similar to Scramble in a lot of ways. And so you have to go underground through this tunnel to refuel. Now, this is a horrible system for refueling.
Well, I guess it's so it can't get bombed from the top. So I can understand it.
Would you want to fly through those caves to refuel?
I'm just saying, I can see the game where it would make sense.
That's like if you were playing pole position, and to go refuel, you had to, or like pit stop, you had to go through a maze or something. It's like, my God, and the walls are electrified. It's like, no one's going to do that. But anyway, you go through this tunnel to refuel, and that's when you hit 1. How did you do the refueling at 3?
I just backed. Well, the first tunnel's not that bad. It's the only tunnel I made it through.
Well, there you go.
But when you pull all the way back on the stick, it slows your ship down too. I don't know about the 1, 2, 3 thruster, but that's what I did.
It's the 1, 2, 3 thruster. I found pretty necessary to be honest with you. So as you fly over the alien landscape, they've got some cute little, like, I guess Easter eggs are down there, including sometimes you'll see the name of the game written in the city. Sometimes you'll see the Texas Instruments logo, and they also said you can see the initials of the guy that made it. I don't think I ever saw those.
I saw those,
but I saw the name of the game a bunch of times. I thought, man, this is bizarre to have the game's name. But I mean,
do we really need to keep hassling him like this? They already bought the game.
I think it's cool. So those are two pretty cool aspects of the game. You're like, that sounds pretty good, but there's a third aspect that is even cooler. This is one of the games that used the really cool speech synthesizer. Did you play with the speech synthesizer?
Yes.
You got to play with that. That's the best part of the game.
It makes the game.
So the game has an onboard computer that will warn you when stuff's going down, right? And I've got here what it says. Listen to all these things it says. It says, press fire to begin, alert, alien craft advancing, alert, ships attacking, nice shooting, good shot, great shot pilot, laser on target, enemy destroyed, warning, time to refuel, congratulations, nice flying, extra ship, caution, asteroid belt.
Yep.
We didn't get to the asteroids yet. There's an asteroid belt you can also maneuver through. Another reason to use those numbers.
The asteroid belt's easy.
The asteroid belt's sort of, again, this is sort of similar to the scramble board where you've got the meteors.
Yeah.
Sort of remind me of countdown, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, advance to the next level, and which that sort of plays into this. And sorry, you were out of fuel. I like that one.
I never got that one.
Well, sorry, did you ever run out of fuel?
No.
Well, that's probably why you didn't get it, Brent.
That's what I'm saying.
So,
I never heard that one.
At the end of the level, as you're fighting, you don't really know when the level's going to end, but you hear the girl come on and say, countdown, 5, 4, and when she finishes up, the level's over. It's time, great. So, the voices in this sound like a chick.
Yeah.
And you know why? It was a chick. The voice in this was done by a girl named Aubrey Anderson, who was a student at Texas Tech. All right. So, I believe it or not, I found a magazine article with an interview with her about this game. Yes.
What?
Yes, it was an old TI magazine. That's how the links I'll go. It was this chick was pretty blasé about it, but one of the things they asked her, do you play games? What do you like? She's like, she asked her how she was good at Parsec, and she's like, I can't get past the tunnel or whatever. But when she hadn't planned, she was not the girl that they were going to use. But it turns out that the digitizing process that they used to do this, they had to have a girl with a certain tone and pitch to her voice that would work, that the mics could pick up, that could pick up properly to digitize.
Right.
And I guess she wasn't the first choice. They had her buddy chosen, and the producer talked with her, and her voice was lower, and so that's why if you listen to the game, her voice isn't very high. She's not Lurch or something, but she's not like hello, but her voice is not that high, and it synthesized perfectly for the game. And so she said she did it in two sessions over 2 days, a 45-minute session and an hour session, and she was just speaking into a microphone, but they had a bunch of computers and
behind the scenes
that she didn't understand. But I thought that was kind of neat that they just got a girl from Texas Tech. It's a Texas style space shooter.
Did they say if they paid her?
They didn't say.
I bet she didn't get paid.
I would do it for free. They asked her what she thought about being like in this game, and she was just like,
"Oh yeah, I mean, yeah."
I didn't care, not that much. It's not that big a deal.
It's not like she's a voice actor.
Well, let me tell you something. I'd be like, if you're in Parsec,
No, it's cool. For you and me, it's cool. But if that's not your jam, it's not like she was even there to. I know. It's not even like she was there to do the part. They were just like, "Hey, you, yeah, you with the face, get in here and talk."
Yeah. So anyway, I thought that was kind of interesting, and it was neat. It was actually neat to find the girl and listen to what she had to say. So again, we mentioned the asteroid field. When you get to this thing, the screen kind of turns kind of like it's almost monochrome looking, and you're going through these asteroids. You just avoid them, basically.
Well, yeah, it's weird because it has like 7 asteroids that are in a line, and they take up the whole screen. So you have to shoot 1 or 2 of them. And the first wave is real slow. And what it does is gives you a chance to line up with a set of asteroids to where you can just... the next wave is a little faster, the next wave is a little faster, until it gets pretty fast. It's about 7 or 8 waves.
Yeah.
But if you stay in the same spot and just shoot when the asteroids come on the field, it's pretty easy to get past.
Yeah. Just a few tidbits about this game. This was the first game on the TI-4A to use bitmap graphics, which explains this because most games don't scroll in the TI, so that in itself is pretty impressive. There were 2 different cartridge labels for this. There was a purple one and a red one. So they went. That's kind of weird. They had their reasons. There's a gimmick which I didn't get to try. That if you've got 2 joysticks hooked up, you can hold the button down on the second one and then use the first one, and you'll never overheat the laser. Yeah, so I wouldn't mind giving that one a shot. There's also some warp cheats. There's some wacky cheats. Apparently, the guy that did this thing was a pretty clever guy. So. Get this. so you've got the Dramites and the Urbites, right? So who are the programmers? Jim Dramis and Paul Urbanus. So
Yeah.
they named them after themselves. I like that. And Dramis also did Car Wars and Munchman. So he was a TI, sort of like a staff programmer, which I think is kind of cool. So what were your overall impressions with Parsec, Brent, to close it out here?
First thing, Parsec, when you first load it up, is incredibly hard because the ships move in a way that you would not expect. They are very, very fast, and they hone into your ship on a collision course almost every time.
They can't. Well, I mean, I think they're sort of random, but they're sort of not.
I don't think they're random at all. I think they track. And then the other ships that shoot, as soon as they appear on screen, they line up with you and shoot.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a shooter where you have to move all the time. Anytime there's something on screen, you have to move. The only time you set still is during the asteroid phase.
Yeah.
If
you don't move, like you'll learn pretty quick when those ships come out with double lasers. That if you don't move, you're insta dead.
Yeah.
I should mention when you die, the explosion is pretty graphically pleasing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It looks real nice. Just a couple cleaning up things here. Do you know what a parsec is?
It's a measurement of time, isn't it?
It's a unit of measurement. 1 parsec equals 3 point a bunch of numbers meters equals 1 astronomical unit. It stands for a parallax of 1 arc second.
Yeah.
Parsec. I didn't know. You just blow
I didn't know that.
Of course.
I knew
Professor Brent's
I
here.
knew it was a unit of time.
I didn't want to talk down to you, Professor.
I didn't know the total what unit of time it was.
So get this. There was a sequel planned. All right, a 2-player sequel. It was called Beyond Parsec. Then it was called Beyond Space. So this is from the author. With the Parsec's popularity, I felt a 2-player version would be a sure hit. I agree. I created a storyboard concept and began coding the software as a submission to TI. The concept was 2 ships in a movable asteroid field. The asteroids would not move if they were fired upon, so they could be used as both an offensive and defensive weapon. And he used the sound effects created for Parsec, and he sent it to the TI, and they loved it and accepted it as a Class A submission. I guess that's as high as it goes. But then TI announced they're killing off the machine. Now, I don't know if this ever got released anywhere else, but they act like it got released somewhere as Beyond Space. So maybe we'll look around and see it. I couldn't find much about that.
You know my biggest problem with this game?
What?
I hated that they put all that junk down on the ground. The initials, the name of the city.
Why?
Because I hate that kind of garbage.
I like it.
You do it once on the opening screen, it scrolls by, it never comes up again. I'm fine with that. When you completely litter your landscape with logos that shouldn't be there, names, letters that don't fit, because you've got this, I mean, it's not a lovely alien cityscape, but it's an alien cityscape, and then you've got a big TI logo. That really turned me off on the game.
Not me. I think that's a silly thing that makes you look silly.
No,
So,
I think it ruins the immersion of the game.
the immersion of the game?
Yes.
Anyhow, if you're looking to buy a copy of Parsec, I don't agree. I like this, by the way.
I like the game. I don't like that.
Parsec is probably considered the premier game on the system.
Well, with the voice module, I can see it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't think it's that special.
So Parsec,
The scrolling's good.
boxed, you can get a copy for $13, and you can see the box here.
Wow.
The box which Brent has taken care of getting for us, beautiful,
Complete with
box.
cover,
Now
yeah.
most TI boxes, they're hot garbage. They're no good, as you can see from that. Anyway, box you get it for $13, loose $5, and you can get these things all day long.
The availability of TI games on the secondary market is really substantial.
It would be if you're going to get into a game system, this would be the one to get into.
Yeah, I mean there's lots of stuff out there. I'm sure there are rare games, but there are a lot of games out there.
So let's turn the corner here to Brent. What do you got this week?
I have Tombstone City 21st Century.
Now, I tell you, when you pick this one, I've not heard of this one.
I had not either.
Yeah.
I was scrolling through the list of exclusive games for the TI 99, and this one caught my eye. So I fired it up. I was like, all right, let's see what this got. Pretty good game. And when I actually learned how to play the game, it was a really good game. So what is Tombstone City 21st Century? It was made by John Plaster back in 1981.
Yeah.
So pretty early. This runs on both the TI 99 4 and the 4A.
Oh, very good.
It runs on both cartridge and disc.
Okay.
So although you have to have the memory module if you go the disc route, which that was pretty common. You play as a schooner, which is a covered wagon, and you are in an abandoned city out in the Midwest, an unnamed town. Well,
It's not Tombstone City.
It's not Tombstone City. It's an unnamed town. So
it's Tombstone City.
No,
that's the name of the game.
But the town is not Tombstone City. It's an unknown southwestern town.
You know, if I was going to try to populate a town, I don't think I would call it Tombstone City.
Well,
in a year.
Well, here's the thing. That's kind of the funny point. The city's dead. It's a ghost town, and your objective is to kill the invading aliens to give confidence back to the people to return to the city. That's why when you defeat aliens or clean up the landscape, instead of getting score, you gain population. I thought that was pretty clever.
This is right up your alley.
Oh, I love it, man.
It's like City Planner the Shooter.
No, I don't think it's anything like that. So you're rolling around in this wagon. It moves up, down, left, right. No diagonals in the game. It has absolute control, which means as soon as you want to go up, if you hit up, you go from facing left or right or down to up. There's no turning. There's no animation for that. You shoot out your bullets, which you have an unlimited supply of. If you shoot, the little pink objects on the map are tumbleweeds, and the little green objects on the map are the aliens, which are called Morgs, M-O-R-G-S. So the Morgs are what are invading this landscape, and that's what you're trying to get rid of. Every time you kill a Morg, he turns into a cacti, which makes sense. But the cacti are also what spawn the Morgs. But you can't get rid of the cacti unless you have 3 cacti touching, and then they will go away.
That is not hard or easy to do.
So, one cacti does nothing. If you have one, I guess, cactus at that point on the landscape, it does nothing. It just blocks your path. You can't shoot them. You can't run into them and get hurt. They're a solid object. If there are 2 touching, that is what spawns Morgs. That's their mating ground. So if you have 2 cacti touching, that means that you're going to spawn a Morg from it. If you have 3 cacti touching, it's too much for the land to support, so it collapses all of them and gets rid of it.
Now, in real life, this doesn't happen, right? 2 cactuses.
Well, no, there's not a whole lot of aliens running around in the desert landscape, Aaron. So, no, I think we're safe.
Did 2 cactuses touch?
No.
When 2 cactuses really love each other.
And we can't edit this out. Now we're doomed. So, the object of the game, on its surface, this is what I call an E.T. game. Okay? E.T. for the Atari, notorious for being a horrible game. However, if the general public would have read the instruction manual and played the game, they would, knowing what you're actually supposed to do, it makes a tremendous difference in the fun you have. This is the exact same way. If you just run around and you shoot stuff and you think you're racking up this great score, it's not that good of a game. If you realize that the whole objective of the game is to get cactus to stand by themselves, a single cactus, without getting touched by anything, that's how you actually advance to the next level. So it's more than just flying around shooting stuff, or rolling around shooting stuff, I suppose. It's trying to group these cacti together to make them go away to advance to the next level. makes the game a lot more fun when you know what you're actually doing. And a lot of people just load this up. They just start playing. They're like, oh, it's a crappy little shooter. I'm done. So let's go into a little more depth of this. In the middle of the screen, you have I believe it is a 5x5 grid of blue squares, which actually represent the city. If you're inside of the city with your wagon, the bad guys can't get in to get you. However, and you can shoot out of the city that way. So if things are really hectic, you can just stay in there and shoot out to clear out some of the stuff. However, if you block out all your exits, then you can't be back in the city, and it will automatically kill you and teleport you out of the city, and then you're screwed because you have no safe place to go and hide. Also, if you hit your space bar while you play and you're outside of the city, you'll teleport into the city to be safe. Oh. So if you're getting ready to get swarmed, you hit your space bar, you teleport.
But I didn't know that.
But that's a sign of cowardness. And it makes 1,000 of your people leave.
What happens if you do it and you've only got less than 1,000?
I don't know. Because score is pretty easy to come by. The tumbleweeds don't hurt you. They just kind of get in your way and move around. And you can shoot those for 100 points. And the aliens give you 150 when you shoot them. So getting above 1,000 is pretty easy early on. So I don't think I ever hit the space bar.
I have to say I didn't know about the space bar.
Yeah.
So we both did it. You know, you didn't know about the lift, and I know space bar.
So, like I said, this is sort of like a puzzle shooter because you have to try to maneuver these aliens to get next to other cacti and get them to groups of 3 to advance the game. Also, whenever a pair of cacti are going to spawn an alien, they actually have a white background. They flash. Kind of. And that's so you won't get caught off guard. Which is crazy. They didn't have to add that. They could have just had the aliens magically appear, but they didn't because they wanted to give the characters a fair chance. I think this is a very deep and detailed game that gets no love because people don't know what they're doing. It's an ET effect. However, something I want to note, this is straight from the manual. There is an unlimited amount of time to destroy any remaining morgues after all generating pairs of cacti have been eliminated. If you find yourself in this limited time period, you must destroy the remaining morgues as fast as possible. Otherwise, the computer will time out and you will have to restart by turning your computer off and on again. So apparently,
a bug is a feature.
It was a bug in the system that they couldn't fix, so they just said add it to the manual. That way, it's part of the game.
At least they tell you up front.
Yeah, the guy that developed this game, heck of a guy. He's just from the interviews I've read, and he's given lots of interviews. He seems like a real nice guy. He said when he was first making this game, it was pretty different. I mean, some of the things were the same, but it was pretty different. The cacti were not going to be the cause of the alien spawns. The symbol was going to be the old 2 sticks make a cross gimmick, like as a grave marker.
Yeah.
But they had religious issues, so they said they couldn't do that.
Texas.
Yeah, I'm just. They also, the city was supposed to be uranium enrichment plant that blew up, that caused the alien. It wasn't going to be aliens, it was going to be mutants.
Yeah.
But they didn't want that kind of destruction. They thought that might put some people off, so they didn't add that into the game.
They're really. But this tells you a lot about the TI.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, if you think about it, it tells you a lot about what's going on.
The game also it has difficulty levels in the game. You can play. I can't remember the exact names. So give me one second.
Is it like the highest level, like insane?
Yeah.
Or like is it?
And it's novice, master, and insane.
Yeah.
And then it actually changes how the game plays. Novice, your wagon is twice as fast as the aliens move. So which novice is what I played on most of the time. And the aliens don't generate as quickly, and they only generate it one at a time. Master level, which is, I guess, more of the standard level, your wagon moves the same amount as the aliens, and they spawn one at a time. And then insane level, the Mogs will spawn two at a time, which makes them harder to clean up, and your wagon moves the same speed of them. So the guy really went in depth and thought about all this stuff to make a game that I thought was a lot of fun. What'd you think about it?
You know, it's when I first booted this thing up, I thought to myself, and I believe there's an arcade game, I think it's called Space Fury, but I'm not sure. It's one where you drive a ship through a board that sort of looks like the city in there.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And I thought to myself, this is just another TI arcade hork, you know. And it might not be Space Fury. I can't remember the exact one.
It's not.
There's one where you drive through, like, blocks.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but it's not Space Fury, but I know what you're talking about.
I started playing this without any research, and I just played it. And I did exactly what you said. I kept shooting stuff. I didn't know what was going on. I couldn't figure out what I was doing. So I got to looking, and they're like, yeah, this is how you end the day. And I hadn't even noticed that there was a day counter at the bottom of the screen. And I was like, oh, that makes it... okay. But I had trouble getting to the next days. So, like, you know, I wasn't good at the game. But I'm not going to poo-poo it, because underneath the kind of generic looking, I mean, it's a decent looking game for its era, to be honest. It looks like the desert. They've got a decent job.
And it has enough sprites that are different to make it exciting.
But there is a deeper game there. Like, it's way deeper.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a different sort of, it's a thinking man's shooting game. I mean, you have to plan where you shoot people, effectively.
It's a puzzle. It's a puzzle shooter.
So you can't just randomly go and kill. You can, but you really want to kill stuff in a certain way, in a certain spot. And so that adds to the, it's sort of the same as the gun overheating on Parsec. It's an extra spice that takes the game from just something that could just be a run around and shoot stuff in a blocky surface into something that's a little more, you have to be a little more thoughtful about how you shoot stuff. And I think this game has, the guy put a lot of thought into it. I really did.
Yes.
I tried to play this on Insane to see what it was like, and it's insane.
Well, and the levels, as you advance, get faster and faster, as the days advance. So there is certainly a limit to where, 4 or 5 days in, you're screwed. Everything moves so fast that you can't keep up with it. And the tumbleweeds are just there to get in the way. If you clear them all off, they pop back. Yeah. So what I did a lot of the times was I would clear it down to 1 or 2 and then just leave those so I could try to better maneuver the morgues to a place where I needed to shoot them. But I had a lot of fun with it. I had way more fun with this than I expected because when I saw the screenshot,
kill it. I was like, oh, I'm going to kill this game when I picked it. The tribute to this game is I know it has gotten a lot, and for a while, especially, I don't know about now, but it got a lot of action on the high score charts. Like, this was a game people went to submit scores to Twin Galaxies, videotape their gameplay. I saw several references as I was researching this game. So it was getting a lot of play, and I think that goes to the point that it's a game where you really have to sit down and ponder how you're going to attack the game, and it's fun. I mean, this isn't freaking Civilization or something. I mean, there's some thinking involved in it, and for a game of this era,
it's way deeper than it has any right to be. And for the population being the score, man, those little touches, I love in games. I absolutely love
it.
I agree. eBay price, this could be picked up minty fresh in box for $20. Loose, less than $5.
I will say, this game did have a good rep in the day, too. As I looked back, it's mentioned amongst the best sellers for the system, Parsec being probably one of the top one or two. Oh, it's
definitely the top, yeah.
And this game, apparently, there was a lot of people, so some people got it, I guess. Some people did get it. So, it's an interesting game, and one that was a surprise.
Yeah.
You know what's never a surprise?
What's that?
The wheel.
I knew it.
Let's spin this sucker.
All right.
Now, tell them what we added this week, Brenny.
We added, I believe it was late or early 80s arcade. I cannot recall.
All right. So, well, why don't you want to look?
Late.
Okay.
Late 80s arcade.
All right, spin the wheel, make the deal.
All right.
Oh, he's getting to tune up the band.
We'll get a super spin.
Dark. It's getting dark in the desert.
For our live show. Well, it's a good spin. Good spin. And we've got Game Gear.
All right.
You know what? I'm kind of excited about this.
I actually own a Game Gear with a bunch of games, and so that'll be fun. That'll be fun for me.
Yeah.
Have you ever played a Game Gear before?
Absolutely.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Who did you know that had one?
My buddy Paul owned one.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, I
Took a ton of batteries.
I did. I've even got the super battery mega charger.
Oh, there
thing.
you go. You almost had to
Yeah.
or live next to a wall
Or
socket.
plug it in, yeah. The Game Gear is a Sega's portable, one of the couple of portables that they ended up having.
Yes.
And that'll be a lot of fun. We haven't done one of those. We have never done one, and we haven't done a portable for a little while. So that'll be next week's show. Now, we should mention, and that we are, for those watching live and for those that are watching on YouTube, we will be stepping out and trying a live broadcast next week for what will essentially be our Christmas show. It'll be coming out the day after Christmas, but
Yes.
we'll milk it out a little bit. So if you would like to join the ARJ crew, I hear those guys are great. They're compression masters. If you'd like to join the ARG crew for a live show, you can only get this sort of quality broadcasting if you do.
That's right.
Feel free to join us next Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which I believe if you're in the UK, I think they're, 4 hours back or ahead. So that'll be, noon or 1 o'clock, something like that. So check local listings for more details. But we'll be going live next week as a celebration of Christmas. And then the show will appear on YouTube in its normal course. So,
There you go.
any parting thoughts?
That's it.
All right,
Let's
it's
do it.
Game Gear next week. And until next week,
Adios, partner. Well,
it was perfect. No problems. Went like a champ.
9. Now they are 5 hours ahead, so
All
yeah,
right,
we
there
screwed
you
that
go.
up.
We'll fix everything in post. Everything.
By everything, we mean nothing. Just stop you don't need a live video stream, Aaron.
I can't, huh?
You can just stop that won't stop.
Well, I just want to see the chat.
I thought you were watching it. Okay, my bad.
It's weird to see yourself in the past.
Yeah.
Like, I'll see in a few minutes, I'm going to whack you.
I'm going to stop it.
No, you didn't make it. I don't know how many people we had in here today. Hey, thanks. Did everything? I mean, obviously we suck. Did it look okay?
We topped out at 9. I think was.
Is anyone still here? I guess is another question.
8 people, Aaron. 8. Well, I'm 1. So and John is 2. So 7 people.
To everything there is a beginning. Also, I didn't announce it. That's why I announced it this week. But this was. I wasn't sure that it would work. So I didn't know this computer had enough jack. So.
Well, that's still yet to show your support for the Amigos. Oh. Wait.
That's just I changed the top text. That's just the bottom stuff.
No. I was under the place where I can write text. There's a little $sign that says "Show your support for Amigos."
Yeah, that gives us
Gaming.
money.
But when you click it, join. What? I've never done this. I don't see this side of things.
Yeah, this is it.
Oh, $5 a month? I already give you guys too much money.
Listen, just keep it coming, man. I'm guessing there's no one left in the chat, so we're free to in the chat. So, but that worked. I mean, it worked theoretically. So I'm gonna stop streaming. Here.
Bye, y'all.
Bye if anyone's still there. Whoops, that's not right. Start recording.